Have you ever heard someone say that index funds are for people who want to be average that? You need active management to really get ahead? That is one of the most common and most expensive lies in investing. Today, I am going to show you exactly why the biggest lie about Fidelity index funds is just that, a lie. And more importantly, I am going to show you the data that proves why smart investors keep choosing low-cost index funds year after year. Before I get into the numbers, let me define what an index fund actually is. An index fund is a type of mutual fund or ETF that simply tracks a market index, like the S&P 500. Instead of paying a team of analysts to pick individual stocks, the fund just buys everything. In the index, this approach has one massive advantage that many people overlook. It is incredibly cheap. The argument against index funds usually goes something like this. Why would you settle for average returns when you could hire a professional manager to beat the market? It sounds logical. But here is the problem. The data shows that most active managers do not beat the market, and the ones that do almost never do it consistently. Let me give you the numbers. According to Spiva research, over the last 15 years, approximately 89.5% of U.S. large-cap active funds underperformed the S&P 500. That means only about 1 out of every 10 active funds managed to beat the index. And 2025 was even worse. Just 21.9% of active funds have beaten the market year to date, which is the worst performance in at least 26 years. Those are not opinions. Those are facts. The overwhelming majority of professional stock pickers cannot beat a simple index fund over the long term. But what about the actively managed funds at Fidelity itself? Surely, some of their famous funds are exceptions. And you would be right. Funds like the Fidelity Contra Fund and the Fidelity Growth Company Fund have indeed beaten the market over long periods. For example, over the last 10 years, FCNTX has delivered an annualized return of 16.64%, outperforming the S&P 500 index benchmark, which averaged 12.60% per year. So those are real exceptions. The problem is that picking the winning active fund ahead of time is nearly impossible. For every fund that beat the market, there are many more that did not. And even the winning funds can have long periods of underperformance. This brings me to the next lie. The idea that index funds always underperform in volatile or down markets. Some people claim that active managers shine when markets get choppy. But the data tells a different story. Active managers struggled mightily to beat index funds amid recent volatility from elections and tariffs. Morningstar found that actively managed funds are generally said to outperform index funds in times of volatility, but that was not the case over the past year. So even in turbulent markets, index funds held their own. Now let me talk about costs, because this is where the lie gets truly expensive. The average expense ratio for actively managed funds is around 0.50 to 0.90%. The Fidelity Zero index funds have an expense ratio of exactly 0%. Let me show you what that difference means over time. On a $100,000 portfolio, an active fund charging 0.70% costs you $700 per year. Over 30 years, assuming 7%. Annual returns, that $700 annual fee grows into over $66,000 in lost compounding. That is not a small amount. That is a car. That is years of retirement expenses. That is real money that you could have kept if you had just chosen the index fund. So when someone tells you that index funds are for people who want to be average, remember this. Getting average market returns while paying almost nothing in fees is actually a winning strategy. It beats the vast majority of professional stock pickers over the long run. But here is what I really want you to understand. The biggest lie about Fidelity index funds is not about performance at all. It is about fear. The financial industry profits when you believe you need expert stock pickers. They make money when you think investing is complicated and dangerous to do on your own. The truth is that a simple, low-cost index fund is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools ever created. So here is my recommendation for you. Start with a core holding in the Fidelity 500 Index Fund, ticker FXX, or the Fidelity Zero Total Market Index Fund, ticker FEFSROX. These funds give you broad market exposure at rock-bottom costs. And here is the best part. You never have to worry about whether your fund manager is having a good year or a bad year. You never have to read quarterly reports analyzing stock picks. You just invest consistently and let the market work for you. Now, I am not saying that active funds have no place in a portfolio. There are excellent active funds like FCNTX that have delivered outstanding long-term records. But the evidence is clear. For most investors, most of the time, a low-cost index fund is the smarter choice. So the next time someone tells you that index funds are for settling, remember the numbers. Remember that 90% of active managers fail to beat the index. Remember that you are paying for their failure with your own returns. And remember that the biggest lie about Fidelity index funds is that they are not good enough. The truth is exactly the opposite. They might be the smartest investment you ever make. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you see index funds differently, hit the like button and subscribe. See you in the next one.